It is 6:20, June the 20th, 2012, and this is the regular board meeting of the Brownsville Navigation District. Reverend Lewis, would you lead us in a prayer, please? Yes, sir.
Our Father in heaven, to whom all hearts are open, all desires known, we begin our meeting today with praise, honor, and glory to you. You have said that those who honor you, you will honor, and we thank you especially tonight for the response to the fourth Tiger Grant application. We pray tonight also for protection and provision. Protect us, Lord, from evil, from the storms of this hurricane season. We pray for provision, that our daily bread be secured through this gateway to the world. Even as this port was a dream that has grown over 75 years, we pray tonight that the dreams and ventures we discuss at this table would bear fruit, for we know that nothing is too difficult for you. We thank you for hearing our heart and providing for us according to the riches of the mercy that you have shown us in Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Amen. We all be
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Item 2 is public audience. No one is signed up to speak. So item number 3, receive director's report. A, receive port monthly operations summary report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, in your package is the monthly operations report. You can see the year-to-date on the financials, how we're doing. We're doing well, better this point in time than we were last year. That's also reflected in the numbers associated with our cargo statistics. You can see that we're up a little bit in May of 2002 over the same period last year. And really, for all practical purposes, May was a slow month. So we're seeing a significant turnaround for June. In fact, from the 17th forward, we're going to be really busy. So. I think that trend of staying ahead of last year's numbers are going to continue. You have that in your package. Vessel activity is almost on par with last year in some of the numbers. Others, we've seen a slowdown. And you can see the tankers. You can see the just overall barge activity at this point is a little less than it was this time last year. And on the last sheet, you can see the question was about our operating funds, and you can see there on, as of June 14th, on BND 16, what that capital fund was. That's the capital fund. We have an excess of $9.8 million in that fund. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer this.
I just have one question. I noticed that the railroad has $7,541 taken in, less income than it did, or it had a deficit of $7,541 for the month, or it says current year actual, so I don't know if that's year to date or monthly. I think it's month to date.
It's year to date actually.
Okay.
Yeah, their rail cars have been all year long.
But it shows that previous year to date, it was current year to date got 11,040, and previous year to date was 1,752. So I was wondering how that.
Some of those are from expenses that got to get moved up during the year, maintenance, repairs, things of that nature. It'll even out throughout the year.
Okay.
He's talking about the car movement, I think.
Car movement is
1752 versus 11,040.
That's correct. Okay.
The 17 and the 21 seems.
Yeah. It's over here. But keep in mind that this is for the month of April only. Year to date, it doesn't give you the year to date comparison. And so in April, there was 2,100 cars this year, whereas last year there was 1,700 cars. And so, yeah. And the other thing, though, I will tell you is that the rail car movements have been up and down all year. I mean, one month is a good month, another month. Now, there are some things that I think are going to be pluses. We understand that the Blue Moons are coming back, Kevin. You know, that was a big change. Those are the liquid cargo cars that were coming in large volumes, and that ceased for a while, so that's coming back. Also, a lot of steel has been moving out by truck, and so, you know, that varies back and forth. But, you know, 1 month, I think the best month we've had this year is been close to 2,600 cars, and then there's been a month we had 1,600 cars. So it just varies from month to month. With all the activity that we're seeing on steel this month, and supposedly is going to continue for July and August, then we hopefully will see those rail car numbers go up.
Okay, like I said, I just noticed it. I just wondered what the deal was. Thank you.
Just fluctuations in cars.
Commissioners, any other? I have a couple of questions for our Chief Garcia. I don't know if you can.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I noticed that our officers, you already supplied them with their portable radios.
Yes, sir.
I just want to know, is that working out efficiently, or is there better communication within?
Well, definitely so. Now that the officers can talk to each other on the radio versus the cell phone, they can talk to the harbor master's office, get dispatch, calls from the harbor master's office when calls come in. They get to call out a location that they're looking at for secure property or secure building, especially in the evening or nighttime hours. We have mobile to mobile and portable radio communications for each officer. And of course, we put the base stations there at the harbor master's office. We have one more base station that will be installed hopefully in the future at the new command center. So as far as radio communications, we have all the equipment that we all our drivers to purchase. We've received it. It's all been inventory. It's been issued to police, security, harbor master's office, and DRG, and we can have some additional radios in stock in case of a critical incident or we need to go emergency management operations.
And to go in, I'm sorry, Commissioner, to go into an emergency management situation, we can connect with other entities, right?
Yes, right now we are programmed to communicate police on the police radio and on one of the base stations with the Brownsville Police Department and the Cameron County Sheriff's Office. If we need to go regional and communicate with other law enforcement agencies or other public safety agencies coming into the board to assist us in a critical incident, so which is one of the top groups.
To make payment from this amount to come in.
We're not going to cut him a check for $600.
So I'll go regional, regardless of what frequencies each one of those has.
I'm sorry, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Yes. No, I was going to say that, so we're good.
Thank you, Mr. Okay. Oh, and the striping is very nice on those new vehicles. Yes.
Yeah, they look nice.
They look very professional.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else has.
No, I don't have anything.
Item number 4, consideration and action on the following consent agenda items. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of June 6, 2012. Item B, approval to authorize payments over $25,000. Item 1, Kennedy Wire Rope and Sling Company, Inc., payment for wire rope and spelter sockets for the Gotwall crane, the amount of $35,125.44. Item 2, Gotwall, payment for 2 rope pulleys for mobile crane in the amount of $25,844.08. Item 3, BRG, reimbursement for the North Yard expenses in the amount of $643,455.40. Item 4, Vulcan, payment for limestone for patio construction in the amount of $143,865.15. Item C, approval of the following leases. 1, Valero Brownsville Terminal LLC, new lease. Item 2, RTW Properties LP, release. Item 3, Deep South Texas Terminal LP, amendment. Item 4, the Port of Brownsville International Seafarer Center, new lease. Item 5, A&T Portmont Development Company, LLC, lease.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners request to table item 4C, 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Also, may I make a comment about item B3 on that BRG? We're not asking you to authorize us to cut a check for $643,455. What it is that the contract was let for the North Yard construction to G&T, and so they're going to be starting submitting their invoicing for payment. So what we would ask you to do is this is going to be the contract amount, but that when we get an invoice that we can draw against that to pay the bill. And so it's not going to go out all at one time. One is that, we'd have to say, well, we're going to have to hit the capital fund for one. And secondly, it's just saying that that's the amount of the contract. So when the invoices do come in and BRG has to pay it, the invoice amount for that particular payment and go ahead and cut the check to them.
And this is from money that they paid us.
Yes, this
This kind of goes in and back
If you
out.
recall, you all set aside 900 and something thousand for the North Yard, so it's from that
Okay.
action,
Just
previous action.
Just double
Yes.
check.
Now we need a motion to table the first,
I have one question.
4C.
On the Siemens Center, aren't we required to at least have $1 a year lease to make them valid? Because maybe there is in there, it's just not on the.
I thought it was being tabled.
No. I'm talking about the Seafair, just to make it, and they're required at least $1.
No, that's a fiction.
Okay, well, no, I just wanted to make sure if it was required, I'd pay it.
Where the other lawyer asked if the dollar had actually been paid.
Okay, if it's not required, then no biggie, that works.
I have a question regarding the crane. I know we had ordered those parts. Do we have everything that we need for the crane? Is everything?
yes, sir, we do.
Everything's good? Okay.
I will tell you that this was the first time that the cables have ever been replaced, and a lot of that work was done by the staff, both the crane operators and Michael's crew, as well as assistance from Joe. So that crane is up to speed. It's up to snuff, and we wanted to get it ready for the busy months of summer. So they did a great job in those repairs. We did it ourselves.
Is the certification up to date on the crane? and everything?
Certification was rated again for top capacity of 100 tons, which is what it's rated for. We were operating under lesser, but now that everything's been fixed, we're back at 100-ton capacity. So they did a good job.
Great.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
So I got a motion by Commissioner Rambula and a second by Commissioner Cowan to table items 4C, 1, 2, and 3. Any other motion for the rest?
Motion
Motion
to
for the-
approve the rest?
A motion by Commissioner.
Commission. I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Cowan. Thank you, sir.
Item number 5, presentation by Gina Delzell from Belfour USA Group for Emergency Service, Restoration Services, or Reconstruction Services. Commissioners, as you recall, when we were going over the items for the generator for the main building, it was mentioned that we might, instead of purchasing the generator, that we might go ahead and just look at looking at companies that would come in and start restoring the port for us in the event that we had a disaster. We had several years ago talked to Belfour, and they had come in to do a presentation, but I called Gina and asked her if she would come in again and just give a presentation to the board so that y'all could get an idea of what services they can provide, and what the extent of their services are. And then later on in the agenda, there is an action item for us to execute an agreement with them if you're happy with what her services
And one
are.
of the reasons for also calling Belfour was instrumental when Ike hit Galveston, essentially, in getting the Port of Galveston up and going. So we wanted someone that had somewhat of a track record and a history with a port. And so I just kind of want to preference that by, I'm sure she's going to mention in her presentation, but it can be very specific to our needs and not just a general need for, warehouse or whatever. So with that, I guess.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Belfour. My name is Jeannie Olazal. Thank you, Commissioners, for having me here. I'm sure the screen will appear.
Where's the bottom one?
So one of the things that I know is very much of a concern is here at the Port is what do you do when you have a disaster, and how are things attended to once a disaster strikes. Here at the Port of Port of, I got the Galveston on the brain, now you brought it up. Port of Brownsville, you have a high possibility of being in a catastrophic area-wide disaster. And so because of that exposure, I mean, you do have to think of what you're going to do. You could have multiple buildings damaged. But you also have to look at not only do natural disasters happen, but man-made disasters happen as well. Water mains break, flooding happens. You know, do you have the manpower in-house to be able to handle it? In this particular location, the staff had a snow shovel and a squeegee to deal with hundreds of thousands of gallons of water that infiltrated their property. Fires happen. You have the large fire, which is actually, that is from your port here, to air handlers on the top of a roof having fire, soot, contamination, and so forth. So there's a wide variety of issues that happen to any type of facility, but specifically to yours when you have so much business being involved, and any type of downtime is going to be catastrophic to your income. A little bit about Belfour. We are the largest restoration company worldwide. We're in 26 countries. We have over 100 offices in North America now. We are not a franchise facility, so all of our offices and all of our countries are owned by Belfour. One of the things that you can be assured of is that you have priority response in the area-wide catastrophic events when you have a relationship with Belfour. Getting your facilities back up and functioning quickly is the key part of the financial impact that you're trying to reduce. One of the things, besides our multiple offices, and we pool our manpower so you have Belfour trained staff on your location, but we also have the largest equipment resource of anybody in the emergency restoration world. So we're able to respond quickly. All of these mobile warehouses, as we call them, these are what we have just stationed in Texas because we have such a wide propensity of having storms, tornadoes, hail, hurricanes, and that these are a fleet that we keep here just in Texas to supplement our own equipment. That's a quick look inside what we would have in a mobile warehouse. Our emergency communications is really important. We bring in, if you have an area-wide catastrophic event, cell towers are down, communications are nearly impossible, so we're able to bring in our own communication systems, so not only can we communicate with ourselves, but with you all as we're going through the process of what's going to be a priority in getting your port back up and running. We are a full-service property restoration, so from the emergency portion and extracting water and dealing with the debris, we go through the entire selection of restorative services. Here shows an example of the types of emergency equipment, but the thing, let's see, where's the pointer? Right here. Right here, you were talking about your generator. Generated power is going to be a huge, huge concern for you, not only for your own structures that may be down, may not have damage, but be down and not have power, but when we're bringing in emergency equipment, that has to be powered up. So not only do you have we have the ability to bring in the emergency generated power, but we have the contracts already put in place that are dedicated to us to bring in the fuel. Because you can have the greatest generator in the world, but if you don't have the fuel to run it, it's going to do you no good. I think one of the things that may be a consideration here at the port is having different facilities already electrical services put in, so when you drop the equipment, you can immediately put it up. And if you don't have that already done, we have the cables and the powering and the electricians to come in, drop the cable, drop the generators in, and get it moved on. The other piece that we have, and that is really important, is your vital records and electronic equipment to keep your business going. It's not only the structures themselves, but your electronic equipment, your vital records, all of your communication systems. These are important pieces that are important to get your property up and running and your business going and having capability of having access to that. Not only do we do the emergency services, but we provide technical services, and we are a general contractor as well, so we can literally do any type of restoration and reconstruction turnkey. Our technical services would include your electronic equipment, machinery recovery, and so forth. I'm just going to lightly cover that. Hazardous material containment. That's going to be a big issue that we see. Certainly we did with the Port of Galveston. When the hurricane hit, the floodwaters actually came from behind, not from the forward from the seawall, and literally gutted the buildings, flooded out the terminals, and damaged the docks. So being able to immediately come in, provide the manpower, also the area of Galveston was cut off. So bringing manpower in and out when they had the mandatory curfews, we were creative and had a cruise ship come in where we housed and fed our workers so they could be there in the morning and work 3 shifts a day to be able to get it up and running and going. We have a global reach with literally 90% coverage in the insured market. One of our strengths that is very important is our financial strength. Balfour being the largest company, we can go in, we have the manpower and the financial backing to move on with the restoration and the emergency services needed, and not having the handout of looking for those money every week for the draws that possibly other vendors are needing. Insurance companies don't pay right up front. You may be looking at FEMA and the long haul that if anybody's had to deal with FEMA, our documentation and so forth is in a format that will be able to allow you to recover from your insurance carrier, and if you're making reimbursement claims to FEMA, it will be in a format that is FEMA friendly. That is the basic overview of Balfour, the type of services that we had. I told I had just a few minutes, so there might be some questions specifically that would be I can address for you, and how we can help you in your disaster recovery plan as you move forward.
No, I just have one question. I know there's an agenda item to authorize the director to execute a service agreement further down the agenda. But are we going to, let's say this building burned down or was destroyed in a hurricane or something, do you have the ability to provide us with a modular building?
We do.
Okay.
In fact, one of the services that we have is when we have a contract with a port, such as we would come in and we would do a site survey, and we would work with you and find out, what are going to be the critical areas. If this building burned down, it's critical for you to function to have another off-site location. So we're going to work at that in advance. Where would it be located? Where would be the options? What type, how large would it be? How many people would it have to accommodate? What type of services it would have to have so you can be up and running?
And if all we needed was a generator, you just would provide a generator. Okay.
Quick question for you. Can you talk a little bit about the Red Alert program? just as a description of what that program is and how it works, because that's what we're talking about?
Yes. What it is, we have a program called Red Alert, and where we have specific contracts with particular entities, and our pricing is up front. In effect, we are promising our services to those clients who are coming to us pre-disaster, so we can have a relationship before the disaster happens. Because certainly when a disaster happens, suddenly we're the most popular people in the world and everybody is getting in line. Having that relationship and that contract ahead of time, you're in the front of the line, and our services and our manpower and our equipment is dedicated to you. So that's what the difference is and where it comes in.
And there is no upfront cost for the Red Alert program. It will be whatever costs are articulated in the agreement, and that's what you would pay if you were to use those services.
Correct. You may never, hopefully you never have the opportunity to have to call us. Chances are you may have to. And you make that decision on, what in-house can handle and what this is larger than you can handle in-house.
Basically, you'd be ready to go whenever we said, we need this, you'll bring it and get it done.
Absolutely.
Get us back up and running.
Absolutely. And certainly what we do, particularly in hurricanes, because we can see them coming. So we, ahead of time, a week ahead of time, we're starting to we're mobilizing personnel, equipment, certainly safe enough that it doesn't get damaged, but close enough to be able to immediately respond. I happen to be one of the first responder teams because of my background with construction, and I work for FEMA under the National Flood Insurance Program. So I'm one of the first responders on a project coordination basis in working with with you all really, and who you designate who's going to be the people that are making the critical decisions at the time.
I know that Galveston at the time and Steve Cernak, the former director, talked about how Belfort basically got them up and running, I think in like 45 days after Ike. And he described how instrumental it was. When everybody was out there looking for equipment and looking for people, they had people already working, because again, everybody at the time of a disaster is when everybody needs the services. It's like going to buy a generator right before the hurricane hits at Home Depot, and they have they give you a rain check for come back and get it next time.
And also the financial services part of it.
Yeah, because everything is also done where it's already set up, so everything that's going to be reimbursable either for your insurance or for FEMA, it's done in a way that they, there isn't going to be you need to go back and redo your paperwork. It's all done in accordance to the requirements. So for them, it was, he talked about how critical it was for them to have their assistance in terms of getting them up and running, and just up and running is one thing, but if you're not up and running, you can't start getting in money to start getting revenue to do the other things you need to do. And I know that he, in speaking with Steve, he was very he was convinced without this service it just wouldn't have happened in Galveston.
I remember Don and I being at a conference, and they talked about that very special thing, very specific thing, and they did a presentation on it, and I was very impressed. In fact, I said then, we really ought to think about this. And then we had a hurricane, and luckily it wasn't a major hurricane, and we got back in business pretty quick, and we didn't need all those things. But at the same time, we could have had a Beulah and be, where the port was out of business for quite a while.
Is there a fee, Mr. Campirano, to sign up?
No, that's why I asked her to speak to the Red Alert program, because there is no fee to sign up for it. What there is there would be a contract. The contract would stipulate the terms and would also have a price list of what their costs are for the services that you would require. So everything's up front. And so if we execute the contract with Belfort, then there is no fee. The only fee you will incur is when you need the service. But if you're but if you're already part of the Red Alert program, then essentially, like she said, you're at the top of the list and not at the back of the list. And so this contract would ensure that the Port of Brownsville's needs would be met by Belfour, not by someone else, but by Belfour in the event we were to get hit and we need these services. They're saying we will provide them, but we're also committing to only call them if we need the services.
And they would provide it in such a way that we would get the maximum amount of money reimbursed by.
Yeah, it's
by
all
the-
according to the insurance and FEMA regulations, so you don't have the paperwork issues of not getting it approved, those items that you're eligible for reimbursement. We have gotten reimbursement in the past, but we do it all ourselves. And not saying that we wouldn't do it, but it's nice having a company that understands the system, and we can do it quickly as well. So the upfront is no cost to the port, but there is a commitment that if you're going to need emergency services or
This is who
equipment or
we're gonna
whatever,
call.
this is who our partner will be.
And do you have any customers valley-wide that use your, or that are signed up to your?
We have, Walmart happen to be one of our national
Okay.
clients, so Walmart would
But
be.
no public entities?
No public entities.
Would be the
That's
first.
the other thing too, we're very careful of not getting ourselves spread too
Spread too thin.
thin, because ultimately, we're here for the long run. I mean, you don't want to say, we called them, they couldn't show up. I mean, that our clients can truly depend on us to be there. And I can share with you, before Katrina, there was 4 back-to-back hurricanes in Florida. Katrina hit, and then, no one remembered Rita. But I was there personally for 16 months in Hurricane Katrina. And with those ongoing 4 hurricanes, plus Katrina, plus Rita, we were able to service all of our clients that had called on us. So I can tell you with certainty, it's not just a sales pitch, and I was there in the trenches, literally, that we're there and committed and have the people and the manpower and the equipment to service our clients. As we did with the Port of Galveston.
I remember them, Steve Stern said they did miracles to get things happen. So,
Any other questions, Commissioner? Fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Very good presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Item number 6, resolution by the Brownsville Navigation District Board of Commissioners in support of Cameron County Regional Mobilities Authority South Padre Island Second Access Project and recommended alternatives.
Okay. We had a request by the Regional Mobility Authority to adopt a resolution in support of the second crossing to South Padre Island. I think I got a note earlier today from the RMA saying they were really swamped and they may not be here, and I can see that they're not. But essentially what it is that the Federal Highway Administration has approved their plan to proceed on a second causeway. And so now they're ready to move on to the environmental impact statement and the public hearing process. So they've asked entities to certainly support them in their efforts to work towards getting that second crossing. I can't tell you where it's going to be exactly, and how far from this location it's going to be. I was hoping they would be here to answer those. I understand that one of the things being looked at is in the Holly Beach area. It's approximately 7-mile long crossing, and keep in mind that the proposal for a second crossing on the island would be a toll bridge. So this isn't going to be something that's going to be funded by the state. It will be funded by the users, I think, under a long-term comprehensive development agreement where somebody will come and build it, and then they'll collect the toll to pay them back for the construction of the facility. And so the county has asked, or the RMA has asked for the navigation district to support their efforts to proceed with seeking a second crossing to South Padre Island. So that's what the resolution portrays.
Any motion?
Do we need a motion, Mr. Renfro?
It's action. So moved.
Yeah, it's an adoption.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ramboula, second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 7, appointment of BND commissioners to boards and committees.
Okay, this is committees that one is chairman, if I'm correct, Mr. Renfro? Ken?
The committees, you have the authority under the policy
to appoint, and I think it's been traditional in the past for the board to just ratify that.
Yeah.
The boards actually take board action.
Can I read them all at once, or, okay.
And then if any commissioner has any question about an individual one, that can be pulled out. But yes, you could read them all.
Thank you, sir. For the cruise ship committee, we know it's dormant, but we'll leave it as it is. Commissioner Cowan, Mr. Campirano, and Ms. Emart will continue. For the audit committee, Commissioner Cowan as chairman, Commissioner Reed as vice chairman, Mr. Campirano, and Ms. Emart.
Director of Finance probably on that one too.
Correct. Ms. Duke?
Director of Finance.
Director of Finance. NPO, if you guys don't mind, I'll stay there. I've been there.
Great idea. You did a great job.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. For BDC, I'd like to put Commissioner Reed. United Brownsville, I think Commissioner Ramon is doing an excellent job.
Great job.
And
Thank you, sir.
I think Mr. Campirano is in that committee also.
Yes.
Southmost Regional Water Authority, Commissioner Cowan, would you mind?
I'll go do that if that's what y'all want me to do. I'm here to serve.
Thank you, sir. And for BRG, this was a hard one for me. Eddie has done an excellent, great job. Feel the board wants us to have a transparent change, so we want to appoint Mr. Commissioner John Reed to it. And we just need a motion for these, Mr. Renfro, and then the subcommittees, that's just...
Mr. Chairman, what about the industrial committee?
do we need a motion for the subcommittees?
Well, technically, you're taking different action. These boards, the board makes the appointment. So it would be a motion to make those appointments. For the internal committees, it's the board accepting the appointments.
Okay.
The chairman has the authority to make those.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I want to separate them.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. All right.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Arambula, second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, Commissioner, aye?
Are we voting on the railroad as well?
Yes, sir.
And we are going to have Mr. Capitano go to those meetings as well. Yeah,
Yes,
no,
they
I mean,
are.
I would like Mr. Capitano, we're going to replace him. I'd like to have, the more voice we have over there, the better, I think. And so if that's the concern, I think that Mr. Capitano should go to the meetings as well. If Mr. Reed's going to replace him, I still like him involved because he is our port director and he's involved in the overall.
Very well said, Commissioner.
So, and that in that light, I will support you as chairman, your decision.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did you get that, Mr. Renfro? Motion by Commissioner Arambula and second by Commissioner Reed. On the subcommittees or our internal BND committees, on the security committee, I used to chair that one. I would like Commissioner Cowan to chair that one, and I will be his assistant or vice chairman, however you want to do it. On the industrial park, I'd like to change the name from industrial park to area planning, only because we can do, or we can plan besides industrial, other future developments. And I'd like to have Commissioner Arambula and Commissioner Reed in that one. And on the policies and records management, I would like Commissioner Arambula to chair that. Vice Chair would be Commissioner Reed, Mr. Campirano, Ms. Emart, Ms. Debbie Duke, Vicky Mercado, and Mr. Chacuan. And that's it. got all that, Mr. Lynn? Yes. Thank you, sir.
Well, a motion just to acknowledge the appointments to be appropriate.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Reed and second by Commissioner Masso. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 8, consideration and action to authorize the renewal of windstorm coverage with the Texas Windstorm Insurance Association with the premium of, this is not correct, this was last year's premium. The correct premium should be $227,973. And to authorize an additional premium not to exceed $10,000 for adding 2 buildings to the policy and to authorize the payments of the premium.
Which buildings would those be?
The Seafarer Center and the Command Center?
Yes, when we get those. We're pending the certificate on the Seafarer Center, and so when we do that, then we'll be ready to get the insurance. Don't expect it to be comparable to the value, about $5,000, and then the Command Center would be the other one. So when that's ready to go, then we can bind that coverage. So we don't expect that the additional buildings will exceed $10,000.
But the engineer, didn't he give us when they finished it?
Certificate, yes, to be
It's been
obtained,
filed.
filed, and we have to go through that process. That's the holdup on the Seafarer Center.
We're just waiting for it to be posted so we can pull it down.
Yeah.
We checked today and it's still not there, but it
And
should be.
and so
there.
once it is, then we'll just go ahead and bind the coverage. But combine both of them, the premium should not go up more than $10,000 for both.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, sir.
So move.
I'll second that with the acknowledgement to change the 216 to 227,973.
Second by Commissioner Ramula. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9, consideration and action on the application for a lease rental rebate for 2011 for Transmontane Product Services, Inc. in the amount of $119,980.36.
You want to table this for
Yes, sir.
discussion? Okay.
I get a motion to table for discussion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cowan, second by Commissioner Ramula. Masso, I'm sorry.
Item number 10.
I think you need to vote on that
I'm
motion.
sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 10, consideration and action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item 1, Bay Bridge, Texas LLC subordination.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Bay Bridge, Texas LLC is requesting the board's consent to subordinate in favor of Wells Fargo Equipment Finance to purchase a excavator.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Do we have to move on? We're going to vote on each individual one?
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Reed, second by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 2, RM Wallsdorf Inc. authority to negotiate.
Yes, RM Wallsdorf is requesting to lease the ex-Long Shrimp site at Fishing Harbor for its spill response site. And the staff is asking for authority to negotiate the lease.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cowan, second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 3, SPI Seascape Inc., Aguilar Brothers Inc. authority to negotiate.
SPI Seascape, under contract 3829 at the Fishing Harbor, is requesting, they're negotiating the sale of their improvements to Aguilar Brothers and are requesting a release of lease subject to the board or the staff negotiating a new lease with Aguilar Brothers. So the staff is asking for authority to negotiate a new lease with Aguilar Brothers and authority to prepare a release of lease to SPI Seascape.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Reed,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ramula. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 11, consideration and action on landlord's agreement with Sims Group USA Holdings Corporation concerning Esco Marine Inc.
This is a credit agreement, an extension of credit from Sims, which, as you know, has done business with the port in the past, to ESCO. The credit agreement's not been shared with us, but you do have people from ESCO here to answer any questions. But apparently Sims is entering into a financing agreement with ESCO, And Sims has asked that they be allowed to take a security interest in the ESCO lease, so that if ESCO ever defaulted on the note, Sims would take the lease over. The agreement's not signed, but Sims has stipulated to the form of the agreement which would be acceptable. This agreement's actually been kicking around for over a year now, and nevertheless we still don't have a signed agreement. So if the board, after asking any questions they have of ESCO, is inclined to approve it, I would suggest you approve it with a deadline of, say, 2 weeks to get it signed and returned to you by Sims, because it's really not appropriate to leave it
Just
open, especially after how long it's taken. But the form of the agreement is acceptable to me.
Okay.
So you're okay with that, Council? It's acceptable?
With the form?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, I so move.
Motion
Second that,
to
sir.
accept it, to have it signed in 2 weeks.
That's right, with a timeline.
Motion by Commissioner Cowan, second by Commissioner Arambula. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 12, consideration and action on lease agreement with Valero Brownsville Terminal LLC.
That needs to be tabled also.
Motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Arambula, second by Commissioner Masso. Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 13, consideration and action to authorize Port Director to execute a service agreement with Belfour USA Group, Inc. for emergency services, restoration services, or reconstructive services related to a disaster at the Port of Brownsville. Commissioners, in your packet on page 80, I put a copy of just the standard agreement that just needs to be filled out. And of course, as Gina mentioned, there is a schedule of charges, and I'm sure that once we start the talks with her back and forth, that they will provide this, and then there's like a work authorization form, I guess, that wants to work. Once we did have a disaster and we needed to have the work done and agreed on the charges, then this form would be filled out. So based on her presentation, I would just ask that you allow the Port Director to begin talks with them and execute agreement that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this would be the Red Alert program, so there wouldn't be any upfront cost to us in the case unless we call them. And so plus we also obviously want to take a look at what all those service charges are and what the schedule of values are. So
I'm okay with it, subject to Daniel reviewing the final
that's fine.
contract.
Yeah, and I'd like to make one comment about this. And I've looked briefly at the contract. I'll look at it again. Under state law, if you have an emergency, say a natural disaster like a hurricane, the Port Director actually has the authority to go out and make emergency purchases without any board action. And I think that's what this contract contemplates, is that the Port Director would start ordering the necessary equipment or services. I think your purchasing policy has not been updated, and that was a recent change to state law after the experience with Rita and some of these storms. So I think you're going to need to look at tweaking your purchasing policy to make it conform to state law, so that the Port Director is not faced with potentially violating your internal policy, even though state law says he has a right to do it, in order to just make sure everybody's on the same page, because the agreement contemplates that you don't have to call a board meeting in order to order some of these emergency items, which might exceed your policy limit.
And this is for emergency purposes only,
For
right?
emergency purposes
Yeah.
only. And the law says that he has to inform you within 48 hours after he makes those purchases.
Can we have that policy ready to review for the next meeting? Maybe?
We can, but I mean this, because that purchasing policy would only come into play if we had a hurricane tomorrow and he had to go out and execute.
Right.
I mean, the agreement has nothing to do with the purchasing policy. I think what you're saying is that if we had to act on this
That's
and
correct.
we needed to
That's correct.
start buying, then, we have a little time period.
That's correct.
Right.
Under the
Yes,
law,
we can.
under the law, he has the right to do that,
Right,
but
right.
it might not be
Right.
conforming. to
In
your-
other words, our policy is not Up to date. It's not in
Hasn't caught up
compliance
with this recent change that the
But yes,
legislature
we can.
made.
So we just need to update our policy so that it reflects
But
those.
as soon as she
Okay.
comes back, she'll be back next week, and we can pull out the new law and get it and have it by the next.
Yeah, that way we can
And-
just have it straightened out and we don't.
I feel comfortable with doing this because I know that Eddie's going to call all of us when he keeps us informed on what's going on anyway. So before he says, okay, here's this is down and this is this and this and this.
First
you know,
thing I
I'm
have to
gonna-
do is order phone service so I can call you guys.
Yeah.
Tell us to bring our mops and brooms and get over here.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Arambla, second by Commissioner Real. Those in favor?
Aye.
Item 14, consider an action to authorize staff to advertise for bids for electrical service to wire the main office building to connect to a generator in case of an emergency. As everyone knows, we have money through the Port Security Grant to purchase and install a generator at the main building. We went out, just to refresh everyone's memory, we went out for bids on that. We got Trinity Engineering to prepare specifications for the building. We went out for bids, but at the time that the bids came back in, there was not a generator available to meet those specs. It was a larger generator than what the building we actually needed. So the board rejected the bids, and we're without a generator. So in preparing for this item for Belfour, we were thinking, okay, well, if we get this service company to come in and do this, the fact still remains that the building is not
Equipped.
ready
Yeah.
to just plug up a generator and go. So since we have the specifications from Trinity, what we'd like to do is get the authority to go out and advertise for
Yeah.
an electrical service to come in and give us bids on what it would cost to prepare this building in the event of a disaster to be plugged up to a generator.
It's a perfect time to do it.
Yep.
And that would be covered by the grant
Yes,
money,
and
right?
John's, yes, it would.
And I think that's an 80-20 match or something.
Yes.
Yeah, we pay 20%.
I'll make
So
a
moved,
motion.
Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
25.
Motion by Commissioner Arambla, second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 15, consideration and action to approve change order number 4 to the Brownsville Navigation District's internal road project addressing removal and replacement of riprap.
Mr. Chairman, Board Commissioners, this is one of two change orders on your agenda today. This is, we're looking at 4 and 6. Of course, we're going to be looking at 6 in a minute. This change order is something that we requested as a contractor
Bless you.
Bless you.
about 7-8 months ago, because on the south side, on Ostos Road, there were several driveways where they wound up putting the riprap right next to the edge of the driveway. And we considered that to be unsafe. They claimed that it wasn't, that was the way that it was in the plans. And I asked them to increase, to give us a safe margin. And in fact, over there where Mr. Cowan is, the tires of the trucks actually now go through the area that we actually widened on the side. So, it is a situation that we felt was very important. But there was also another issue that was just as important, that some of the services were exposed. There was some cables, some phone service on one side, and then on the Diggs driveway further east, there was an actual sanitary sewer service line across the ditch that was outside of the skirting, outside of the riprap. So on both those situations, we had them widen the riprap, we had them remove what they had already installed, and then we had them widen it so that we could cover everything up and create that additional safety factor. And they never gave us a price. This was something that actually did it right then. They never gave us a price. They finally gave us a price for this work, and that's what this is. They've priced it at $25,000. The state has looked at it, and they believe that the numbers are correct, and they've approved it, and they've submitted it. Your agenda items have us back up the information from the state for this change order, and we're asking for you to approve this. And then I'll address the other change order, I guess, that we come up.
In effect,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
we're trying to close the project
Yeah.
out. So there's all these little details that have been left pending. This is one of them. We've got another one coming up. We still have one last issue. So it's just trying to get all this stuff taken care of so we can get the thing. It's not going to cost any more money. We're not putting in, but it's just trying to get this thing cleaned up so we can get closer to getting this thing cleaned out and over with and saying, yeah, se acabó.
it's not gonna cost more because we were under our
That's
budget,
correct.
right?
Yeah, but even if there were an additional dollar amount, we're not, there's enough money in the budget where we're not having to contribute any money to it. In fact, when this is all said and done, we're hopeful that we actually get some money back.
But still, we have to pay for their mistake.
Well,
So it's gonna cost
well,
us $25,000.
It's a mistake. It depends how you, the contractor says, we followed the design parameters. And the state says, well, we looked at it, we reviewed it, it's justifiable, and so they're recommending that we approve it.
You need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, I need a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by
second that.
Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Masso. All those in favor? Aye.
Item number 16, consideration and action to approve change order number 6 to the Brownsville Navigation District's internal road project addressing final closeout of the project quantities.
Now, as I was drafting this item up, I indicated that the idea was to close out the project because that's what the thrust was by the state. However, in this process, we went to inspect one of the particular roads that we are still having problems with, which is West Mineral Road. And we told the state, well, you know, we don't want to close out the project without Mineral Road being repaired. And Mr. Campirano and I had a meeting with the state engineer, which is the area engineer, Mr. Hector Gonzalez. He's actually the interim right now. They haven't fully named him yet. But we had a meeting with him and other members of his staff. And this change order, if you look at it, there's a $149,000 deduction, which is a result of the some areas that we looked at that we didn't feel we needed to go as wide as the plans called for, and it reduced some of the base, it reduced some of that work. So some of the quantities were reduced, and here is where we had some of the underruns. And this change order would have basically taken care of that. In discussing the issue of Mineral Road, they agreed that it needed to be fixed. But they also indicated that the contractor had performed the work according to the plans, which was a fairly thin section of base and a thin section of pavement on the widening. So that is the issue that Mr. Campirano just mentioned a few minutes ago that is still pending. We initially wanted to try to take care of it on this change order and have it all wrapped up, but the state is requesting that we approve this change order the way it is to adjust the rest of the quantities, and then they are coming back with another change order that is going to be the additional work that needs to be done on Mineral Road. But, yes.
Yeah, the deal on Mineral Road is that, you know, that road really was never paved. It was a
It was a
caliche kind of deal. And what happened, what we believe happened is when they did the traffic counts on it, well, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of traffic. Well, they added shoulders, they paved it, they did it according to the traffic counts. Now what's happening is no longer a one-lane road, so the trucks are getting over to the side. Well, it's that additional extension on either side of where you had your main base that's failing. And really, if you saw the pictures, you know, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to us. It's not acceptable to the state. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to figure out how to fix it. So, you know, we had hoped that, you know, our thought was, well, let's go ahead and resolve that and take care of this. But the state is really asking us to go ahead and please approve this change order. But we are coming back, whether it's going to be change order number 7 or whatever we're going to call it, with the fix to Mineral Road. And hopefully when that's done, then that will be the final element of this thing. We can close it out. Right now, there is a quantity credit here, about $149,000. So we may come back and the quantity credit may be gone with the fix. So we don't know, but they're asking us to please approve this change order, and then they want to handle it where they'll come in with a new change order to just address that piece. I just think it makes the paperwork for them easier. But we still have an issue with Mineral Road, and once that is done, you know, closing out the project. So we had hoped that this would do it, but it's not going to.
Well, that's because there's a broker right there in the corner, right?
Well,
is that why there's so much
if
traffic?
you go down Mineral Road, you see various places where there's failure. I mean, to be honest with you, if it was a paved road at one time, I mean, I mean, it's worse now than when it wasn't paved because of the shoulders. And so it just needs to be repaired, and everybody agrees that it needs to be done. Now it's figuring out the fix and the amounts and the quantities and getting it done. But they want to come back with guess is going to be change order number 7 to address that specific problem.
Ballinger accepted this one?
As I understand it, Ballinger has accepted this one and has accepted number 4, and that's why they're presenting it to us. It's been approved by district as well.
Now, Mineral Road is not a parking road, right?
No.
It's the one right.
I know where it's at, but
Yeah.
the broker uses it for the trucks to park there as a parking, and it shouldn't be used as a parking road.
Well, I think we got two, it's
That's the one that
east
goes
and
like
west.
that, yeah.
And so we only have problems, I think it's the first one?
Yeah, the
The
west
one
one.
where it dead ends with
Yeah.
one user at the end. And it really, it's just back and forth. I mean, if you see where the trucks have gone, you can almost see where they've gotten off what was the original shoulder in the middle, no problem, because that's where we have the road. But off to the sides, you can see where it just doesn't support that traffic.
Maybe at our next
Wait.
meeting, Mr. Chavez, you can bring them. You can take a picture so the other commissioners can also
Well,
see.
I've got, I can email you pictures if you like, or send them to Mr. Ampirano, and he can send them to you of what we sent the state. Because, and then obviously we'll get pictures from
Your other
you.
presentation.
What, you can bring them to us when you bring the next change order to fix it, and that way we can know what.
Yeah, this is why it needs to be fixed. You'll see that.
I'm familiar with the road. In fact, I was going to bring up that road and say, well, what's going on if we change that? Before we close this out, what about this? So, okay, I would like to make a motion that we approve this change order, but not close out the whole project. We just approve this change order because Mineral Road needs to be fixed.
Motion by Commissioner Cowan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Item number 17, and going into executive session.